Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Q&A. So occasionally I will post on Instagram or the YouTube community page and ask you guys to submit your questions. I had an overwhelming response, probably because I haven't done one of these in a while. After going through and looking at some of the questions, first I was just gonna be like, well, I just can't answer them all, and you know, you guys can answer next time. But then like I started to look through them and there's like so many good questions that I was like, well, I don't really want to do that, but I don't want to make an hour-long video. Stuff just kind of gets lost in the mix. So doing it a little differently, I'm gonna kind of break them up into sections. This one is gonna be about training, because the first question that I started with was training, so I kind of just ran with it and started going through and cherry picking all the training questions. If you commented on one of these posts last week, well, by the time you're watching this, I guess it'll be a week and a half ago, just know that if you didn't ask a training question, it's definitely not gonna be in this video, but it'll be in the next Q&A, which I'll probably post maybe next week. So, without further ado, let's get into some training. This first question is from Braids and Things by Bernice. Diet, how do I know if I'm feeding enough or even the right food or getting enough nutrients? Also, can it affect their training and obedience? Thank you guys. Obviously, if they're hungry and such, you know, if you're hungry, you don't do as well when you're trying to learn new things. So yeah, I mean, you wanna make sure they're being fed right and everything. I did at least one, if not two videos on what we feed them. I will link them like on the screen. I'll link them below as well in case you're like on TV or whatever where those links don't show up. The short answer is we do dry food. We are mixing in some pumpkin puree right now. There's a lot of debate between like raw and non-raw diets. One thing I will say is whichever one you go with, you know, just stick with it. I wouldn't mix and match. We usually suggest Gentle Giants, which is linked below. Hey, llama drama. All right, this next question is from Aaron Goldsmith. We just rescued our second German Shepherd male, 6-month-old puppy. We also have a 1-year-old German Shepherd female pup. Can you talk about strategies you use to dual train your pups? Tips or thoughts would be much appreciated. Enzo is free to comment as well. We did not really have to dual train. Enzo was 2 years old when we got Lotus. Really, I was just training Lotus. Now, there were times, yes, absolutely, where you know, I would just take Lotus and work on stuff, sure. In the beginning, teaching them something isn't that hard. It's getting them to listen through distractions that is really the challenge. Just having Enzo there would be too much of a distraction in the beginning, so I needed his full undivided attention, so I would just take Lotus. The other benefit we had by having that Enzo already trained is that, for example, like there's heel, which is, you know, at least the way that we were taught it, you know, heel is taught in stages typically, where with Lotus, we didn't really do the stages. We kind of just taught heel, come to heel. He was taught heel, how to heel, but Enzo already knew the more advanced stuff. Lotus never had to be taught that because he was taught heel, and then when I would say it, Enzo would come running, so Lotus would come running, and then he'd hear me say heel, so he was like, okay, and like, so he didn't have to be taught that that meant to also come running and do it and stuff. So there were some benefits there. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, you're gonna have to separate them. Them just being there is going to be the distraction. All right, this next question is from Katie Vega. Hi, Will, Nisha, Enzo, and Lotus. I have an 8-month-old German Shepherd who has a lot of reactivity against other dogs. Oh, you wouldn't know nothing about that, would you, Lo? Huh, would you? He can't stand to see one because he'll freak out. He started behaving like this around the 5-month-old mark. Any tips on how to help us deal with this? Unless something happened, my guess is they've probably been like this since they were like, you know, since you got them at like 10 weeks or whatever. In retrospect, when we look back at Lotus, he was doing this from the beginning. We just didn't really know what the signs were, but that doesn't really matter. The first thing we did, however, is we determined if the reactivity was based on fear or aggression. Lotus's is based on fear. Really, Turtle? Breaking out Turtle? When's the last time you played with Turtle? 2 years ago. So the way we did this, I would walk them past the dog park and Lotus would react. Nisha would walk them past the dog park and they would react. Then we would have one of her cousins walk them past the dog park that they didn't really know. Nothing, not a peep. Because it was a fight or flight reaction, what he did instead of reacting is he actually did react. It's just he didn't bark. He actually started to try to pull them and run away. It was very obvious that this was a fight or flight. When he's with us, it's fight. When he's not with us, he's like, oh, screw you, random human. I don't care about you. I'm running. Like, you fend for yourself. With us, he's like, all right, this is my human. I gotta stay and fight. So this is what I'm gonna do. So that would be my first thing, is to figure out if it's a fear or aggression. Because if it's aggression, then they're gonna react no matter what. Because they're just aggressive. And some dogs are just aggressive. From what I've been told, if it is aggression based, there's not really a whole lot you can do with that. So, you know, it doesn't mean that they're a bad pup or anything. It just means that you really just aren't going to be able to allow them to be near other dogs. Now, don't get me wrong, Lotus is based on fear, and he still really isn't allowed around other dogs. But fears are overcome. You can overcome them. The things that I've done thus far to work is doing things like walk around the dog park. Never put yourself in situations. Even though he is still reactive, there is a difference now versus 2 years ago. For example, we were out hiking the other morning and there was a person and a dog coming the other way. So they were nice and they got out of the pathway and we had to walk by, and they were probably, I don't know, from like here to like the back wall maybe. And Lotus didn't react. Now you could tell he was close. Like, he didn't do it. I told him off and he didn't, but like you could tell he was close. That is a massive improvement, because 2 years ago or whatever, there could have been a dog 50 yards away. Like, if he could just see them, he was going to react. So, I mean, the fact that we were mere feet away and he was able to keep composure, that doesn't mean he can do it every time, mind you. A lot of that comes with prep and kind of like if you have a fear that you need to overcome, you don't just kind of wing it. Kind of got to prep yourself and get ready for it. And that's kind of the same thing. Get him in a command so that way his mind is kind of focused on something else. Obviously I have him on a leash. A big thing is he feeds off me, so I try to act calm. Not always possible, but I try. A lot of it's just going to be practice, but you could practice and do this every day. And you could go days and days and he's perfectly fine, and then he'll randomly bark at somebody, another dog or something. So it's going to be a lot of work, and you have to ask yourself, like, what are you doing this for? He doesn't need to be friends with every other pup. He's got Enzo, he's got Charlie. The one regret I have is not introducing him to Gus when he was real young. We were pretty strict about like the shots and everything, not letting him around other dogs. I wish we would have let him around Gus. Might have a relationship like how he has with Charlie, where he's fine. Maybe not, I don't know. Hopefully it kind of gives you some ideas. I will link the video that I put up last week dealing with where I talk about a lot of the struggles that we have with Lotus. Just gonna kind of let you know, like, no matter if it's fear or aggression, you're in for a long, long battle. And as always, this is turned into the training Q&A video. So as always, I will link Robert's channel and his courses below. Would definitely consider checking them out. I just had to pause, one, to take a photo, but two, to say that we passed 2 dogs and a bunch of people and a couple bikes, and Lotus, Enzo did good too, but Lotus especially did perfect. So proud of you. Yeah, so proud of you. Yeah. He's just afraid. All right, this next training question is from SB No Nike. How did you guys go about teaching Lotus and Enzo not to pull while on the leash? I've been practicing heel with my German Shepherd, but she doesn't seem to be getting better. Could really use some advice. So when they're in a heel, they know, like, they have like a range. They're not machines, they're not robots. So I don't need them to be like perfect in sync. We're not in the military, it doesn't have to be precision. So I give them a little bit of giveaway back and forth, and based on our movement and such. For example, if we're walking through a flat sidewalk, I'm going to be a little bit more strict than like if we're going down a trail. Even if they are on a leash in those situations, they would never be far enough for the leash to pull, because a heel isn't a leash walk. Now you see me heel them with a leash all the time. That's just for safety reasons. Are you destroying Turtle? Is that what we're doing? A lot of times it's just to give, honestly, especially with Enzo, a lot of times it's just to give other people peace of mind. To be fully honest, they don't know how to walk on a leash. If I had to like ask my neighbor to take them for a walk, they are going to get pulled down the street because they don't know how to walk on a leash. That is actually something that I've been wanting to work on them, and actually something that I myself have been watching Robert's videos to learn how to do specifically on this, because it's something I want to work on them, because it's just a skill that I think is useful that they need to have. This next question is from Magma False. I am getting a German Shepherd at some point in the next year. Also, for question, when should I start training? When the time comes. You can do like official like training, like when they're old enough to really retain that stuff, around 5.5 months. But little things like around the house and behaviors and stuff, day one. Lotus was crazy about food, whine and jump and just freak out. So like I would stop. Like he would hear me getting the food out and he would go all crazy. So when he would do that, I would just sit there quietly and wait. And then like when he would get quiet, then I would start going again. He would start making noise, I would stop. And when I taught him this, you know, for the first day or so, it took a while to get lunches and stuff. But he picked it up real quick, never had a problem since. Like little things like that, you can teach them. And I mean, you can teach them sit and stuff, but as far as like being able to overcome distractions and stuff, they just don't have that type of an attention span until at least like 5.5 months. And even then, you know, it's gonna take time and patience. So, but yeah, I mean, and I've got full videos on this that I'll link some stuff you can start in the beginning. Kiera Pidgey. Best tips or advice on training, raising German Shepherd pup. My German Shepherd baby is 7 months on the 20th. Love the channel. Well, I think we're past the 20th. Yep, we are, so happy birthday. Past 5.5, so you can do some more advanced training. I would look into Robert's channel. I mean, honestly, I would look into the course, but you could start with the channel and just start with the base, you know, just start like in the beginning kind of stuff. If you're not for the do-it-yourself type, you could always use like an off-leash. I'm not sure where you're at, if you're in the US or not. I know those aren't everywhere, but you could always use like an off-leash canine. But like I said, or you can go through, I mean, really, the time is now, really. This next question is from Soft K-Pop Stan. My German Shepherd puppy is 4 months old and she's really reactive to other dogs and sometimes people. She's not aggressive, but she will bark at them incessantly until we say hi or I redirect her. Is there a more effective way of addressing this without having to go out of our way to avoid other dogs? So this comes back to the question. I won't go through it all again. Do the test, find out if it's fear or if it's aggression, and then, you know, you can go through the training or you could get a trainer to work with. Now, 4 months old, obviously you can't like do like hardcore training yet. Depending on where you're at, if it's safe and they are not being aggressive, they're just reacting, then my thing would be to expose them to more of it. Monica Bowles, my puppy has been biting and chewing on my family's hands, clothes, everything. Anything to do to stop this behavior quickly? So this is kind of a complicated question that I devoted an entire video to that I will link on the screen or below or both. You have to understand that they're not really biting. They're more likely just mouthing you, and that's just the way they communicate. So watch that video. I go over a lot of the reasons why they're doing that and some alternatives. A lot of it derives from they need attention, trying to communicate with you. That's the only way they have to communicate is through their mouth. You know, they can't tap you on the shoulder or anything like that. Do you need anything before you go? All right, so this next question is from Mummy and Kids. Hi, how do I get my German Shepherd from barking all the time? So kind of like the mouthing, barking is the way they communicate. And we are the firm belief that I don't ever want to take their voice away. So Lotus is reactive, so I'm not really worried about him for feeling like he isn't going to have his voice or anything like that. So there are plenty of times where I tell him off. With Enzo isn't reactive like that, and he will get vocal a lot of the times. With him, it became there were certain scenarios he barks when I get out of the FJ, for example, and I'm usually fine with that, but there are rare occasions where I really don't want him to do that. Those are the times that I'll actually tell him off, and he knows that means that, hey, I can't bark. While a lot of dog shepherds can understand this concept, not all can. So if you go to teach them this and you go to teach them when they can't bark, you have to be paying close attention, because if you notice that they stop being vocal or barking at anything or other things they used to, then it means that they're not correlating the two and you probably need to stop. With Enzo, I didn't see that problem. If I don't tell him off, he's like, I can do whatever I want. I can make a ruckus, you know, no big deal. If I tell him off, he's like, okay, I'm not allowed to. Now, as far as how you do that, that's through training. Now, this whole Q&A is centered around Robert's videos. We did it through off-leash because we didn't know about Robert prior to that, and we just used a simple off command. I would imagine you could do specialty commands. That wasn't something I was concerned with. Again, Enzo understands that. All right, so this next question is from Monica Bowles. I tried to take my puppy on walks, but he won't budge. I don't know what to do. Yeah, they just do that. They're just stubborn, and you know, they're puppies and stuff. They'll get past that phase. Don't worry. I know it's annoying, but it passes. This next question is from Galaxy Girl. My dog is afraid of the dark. How can I get him to go outside at night? Enzo and Lotus can comment too. Boys, you got anything to say? Yeah, dark can be scary, I know. Thankfully, I haven't had that issue, but we do have issues where they don't want to go out if it's like storming or fireworks. I've never had anybody ask about just being afraid of the dark in general. I'm wondering if maybe something happened at night, something that traumatized them. I would maybe start by just trying to add more light, first of all. I don't know what your situation is. Like for us, we got in our backyard, I could turn on the back lights. I have like flashlights, things like that. You could get like motion sensor lights. Maybe start by just adding more light. Obviously, put them on a leash and make them come out there with you. If it is some sort of trauma or something, you could do something to reduce their anxiety around it. Now, if it's just a fear of the dark, I don't know that I would want to go as strong as like prescriptions or anything, but maybe something like rescue remedy, maybe just to kind of take the edge off a little bit. Depending on where you live, I mean, that could be a really big issue. I just try to think about going through winter. I mean, in the winter, like every morning and every night when we go to the bathroom, it's dark out. Like that would be a huge inconvenience. It's definitely something I would want to start working on immediately if you're not already. Have them on a leash. You can get a longer training leash. You know, be encouraging, have treats, you know, reward them well, praise them, things like that. And above all, you're probably not gonna like to hear this, but like with Lotus, not this past year, but last July 4th, he needed to go to the bathroom. And, you know, July 4th, I mean, the fireworks, they just seem to start midday and keep going. It took me like 2 hours to get him to go to the bathroom. I'm not exaggerating. It was like, it was well past an hour to get that I was outside with him. Eventually, we ended up getting in the car and driving somewhere and getting out, and kind of the novelty of that helped a little bit, and he finally went to pee. Enzo wasn't afraid of the dark, but Enzo was real stubborn for some reason as a puppy, and he liked to chase crickets. So, like, I would take him out to the bathroom at, like, 9 o'clock thinking, like, oh, you know, I need to, or 10 o'clock, whatever time it was, thinking, like, okay, we're going to go out here, I'm going to get in bed, I'll be in bed in, like, 15, 20 minutes. Next thing I know, finally, like, Nisha, like, comes out, like, 45 minutes later, like, what's happening? Like, what are you doing? Or whatever. Like, I went to sleep, and, like, you guys never came back or something. It's like, yep. Enzo's still chasing crickets. We're still out here. You know, I'd put him on a leash. I wouldn't actually let him chase them, but like he was just wouldn't let it go. Kept watching them and stuff. Kind of got to wait that stuff out. You can't give in to that. It may not be the answer you're hoping for, but a lot of things. I've been through a lot of Robert's trainings. Don't know that I've seen one on the dark, but I'll put it up on the screen or something. I'll try to see if I can find one if he's got anything about that. So that pretty much goes through all the YouTube community channel training questions. Now, as I was scrolling through here, I saw several on food and some general, like their sizes and stuff. I think most of those I'll be able to combine into another video next week. I don't know how much of this, like how the edit will go, but I actually started with Instagram, but Instagram wouldn't load. Like it literally would not load. I could go to any other picture of them that I've posted, any other post, and click on the comments and they would all load. That one won't load right now. Even if I go to like my personal Instagram and then go to the photo and it won't load. I don't know why. It was loading earlier just fine, but excuse you. If there's some training questions on Instagram that I haven't got to, I will do a separate video or I'll include those in the next one. But if you left your question on Instagram, don't worry, I will get to those as well. If you haven't been paying attention, I've kind of moved lately to this 2-week video schedule, Mondays and Thursdays, although technically this Monday's video didn't come out till Tuesday. I don't want these to drag out. I don't want you guys to ask questions and I don't get to them for like 2 months. Like that's annoying. But know that at the same time, they're not going to get answered right away. Basically what I'm trying to say is I may just throw up like an extra video next week or something of it. So be on the lookout for that. If you have any questions or anything in general, you know, comment below. As always, appreciate you guys. Subscribe for more German Shepherd content, and we will see you on the next one. It's getting close to sunset. We got to we got to do something. Got to go burn them ants. I know. Too hot today. I know. And it was raining this morning, so couldn't go this morning. It was like 95 degrees today. You're going to go upside down. You're going to go into the upside down world. Yeah, and you'll get lost there. It's scary there. Later, all.